Jeff. How you doing?
Hey, Belle, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm so excited to be talking to you.
Yeah, it was so nice to talk to you today too. I
Um,
love the shirt.
thank
It's a
you. Thank
great
you.
shirt.
I'm really excited to play the game. I was actually supposed to get it today, but Best Buy delayed it on me, so it's not going to come until
Oh
Tuesday.
no.
But at least I got the steelbook ahead of time.
Oh, good, good, good. Yeah. Oh, that's right. They said they mailed those out separately, right?
I'm sorry, what?
They mailed the steelbooks out separately, right?
Yes, it came separately, but I was
Hmm.
really looking forward to the game today, so I'm a little disappointed, but I'm still really excited. So,
Yeah, yeah. What time zone are you in, Belle?
Central.
So you got, is it still possible that it could come today?
My notification says it's coming out Tuesday. So
Oh, not till Tuesday?
yeah.
Oh no. Oh, that sucks.
It
I'm sorry.
was. It's okay, but I have a lot of things going on this weekend anyway, so I probably wouldn't have gotten around to playing it until Monday at least.
All right, good, 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 good. And then, so wait a minute, just to be safe, so we should do this spoiler free, right?
Yeah, we could do that
Okay.
spoiler free. I really don't
Do
like
you know?
spoilers.
Have you played through the campaign or like seen it all
I
or
played
watched anything?
I pre-ordered the game on the last day of the beta
Okay.
version. So
Hmm.
I only got to play it for like a couple hours, but I can say that it got me so hyped up for the video game, and I'm so
Oh,
excited to
great.
play all the characters and go through the entire experience.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad. So you haven't seen anything online yet?
No, I try to avoid
Okay.
all that.
Okay, good. Good, good, good. I'll be very hush hush.
Nope, it's a Marvel thing. They don't like spoilers.
Yeah, I know. They're pretty good about keeping it under wraps too.
Yes, they really are. So how did you get involved with the video game?
Um, so I got involved pretty traditionally. My agents uh, contacted me with an audition. I think my first audition was just on tape. So I was actually in. We were waiting for my wife and I were about to move into our home, so we were in like a temporary house. Um, and I got an audition, so we taped it in my living room and sent it in. And then from there was a couple callbacks. And I met with Sean, the director, um, and I think it was three. So we were at my house. We did one from my home, one self tape. Then I met with casting. Then I met with the director, and then I think after that, we were off to the races.
And how did you prepare to play the iconic Captain America?
Well, it's funny. I mean, so for the audition, actually, I didn't know what it was for, really. I mean, they changed the characters' names but I just remembered having this, like, I mean, I had a sense of who the guy was. I mean, you have to make a lot of decisions. And what was really coming through at the time on the page was this, like, very altruistic. He had a very sort of like fatherly quality. The scene that we auditioned was actually the scene was one of the scenes in the very, very, very beginning at A Day with myself and Kamala, again, whose like names were totally different.
Yeah.
And and so I like was trying to figure out, what I was gonna wear for the audition. I don't spend a lot of time with that usually, but I think I put on this like leather jacket or something. When I came out, my wife was like, God, I'm getting that kind of like that vibe from that guy who's in the comics and the Marvel movies. And I'm like, who, because she's not like a big comic book person, but she was like, it's kind of like Captain America. And I'm like, yeah, right. Okay. So it wasn't until after I booked it that I found out. So to get to like how you prepare for a role like that, for me, it's really about like, it's a little bit less about trying to play Captain America and more about diving into like Steve Rogers, right? And who he is. Because he's just a guy, who kind of has leadership thrust upon him. So it was a lot about, for me, the things that I really wanted to pull forward was um, just how his altruism, his honesty, um, his confidence, but sort of like the mutual respect he has. He never sort of leads with that, with any arrogance or confidence. And in fact, I would say a lot of times, you know, Steve, especially in this game, questions his leadership. And that's a really human quality because we all question ourselves. Are we doing the right thing? Are we acting the right way? So, you know, I knew obviously a lot about Captain America from comics. Obviously, there's like the MCU, which is just fantastic. And
Really
so
is.
you want to try to bring your own thing to it without ignoring the things that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't try to attempt to do a facsimile. So all I can do is bring like my own interpretation. So, you know, he's got a little bit of that East Coast vibe about him.
So what was your
Yeah.
inspiration for your own version of Captain America or Steve Rogers?
So for me, it's the inspiration comes from like, you know, what parts of his character do I really want to push forward? And for me, it was like a little rough around the edges, a little bit, maybe more, a little bit of that like insecurity sometimes, you know, that questioning. And then you try to honor the roots of who the character is, like where he comes from in the comics. So it's a really interesting balancing act because you have all this source material, and then you have the movies, and you have to figure out how to like digest all of that, and then ignore all of it, and really just bring you to it. And the funny thing is about that is like the one thing you never have to try to be is yourself. Like that's if you can really just allow the things that are innately you to come through, then without having to do very much at all, my version of Cap will always be mine without having to try to prop something up, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Like Chris Evans has his own version, and there's always
Yeah.
comic book versions, but for video
Yes.
games, it can be all different too. And I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever seen quite a Captain America video game style before. So having to play a little bit as your character in the beta version, it was pretty interesting, and there's a lot of different things compared to what Chris Evans does for his movies.
Sure.
So I'm excited to see more of the character when I play him in the game and see the version of everything.
Yeah, it's really cool because I mean I'm a big fan of what Chris did in the films. I just think he did a fantastic job. But I think this is what's cool about like characters as a generality, and you see this a lot with you know other characters in film who have been played by multiple different actors.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's great about these characters is that there is room and space for everybody, right? Like I never feel like when I find a character in a film that I love, and then I find out it's going to be played in another movie by somebody else, I never feel like I'm having something taken away from me. I feel like I'm getting to flesh that character out even more through the eyes of somebody else. So for me, it's always really exciting. And I understand like definitely people, you know, get attached to different versions, whether it's a version they saw in a comic or a version they saw on TV or a version they read in a book or a film. But I think it's cool that you can have lots of different interpretations, lots of different voices and contributions, and really using those as a vehicle to flesh out who this character is and who they can be.
And working on the set on video game is a lot different than working on a movie or a TV show. So
Mm-hmm.
what was working on the set like?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, like I actually find that there's more similarities than people think. Obviously, there are definitely stark differences. So, you know, on the set of a game, one of the things that's very similar to theater is you're doing everything in one take. So when you put a scene up, whatever scene you're doing that day, everything has to be done in one shot. So you got to run the scene from top to bottom. So whereas in film you can cut away, we can pick up in the middle of it, we can do lots of different, you know, editing techniques so that we can kind of just pick up the scene wherever we need to. If we do the whole thing through and just mess up the last little bit, we might just do that. But in games, you got to do it the whole way through. But other than that, you know, you're in a giant volume and you get to just play, and you know, you have a very rudimentary sort of set built, and then you just get to dance around the stage with a bunch of your other actors, and it's a really fun very, very childlike experience.
And you get to work with so many wonderful other voice actors as well.
Yeah.
Always like to work together as a team to bring the game to life.
Um, you know, it's a really gratifying experience for a number of different reasons. Obviously, to get to participate in a project like this, to get to be a character like this, and then you get the cast list from production, and you see everybody else that's in it, and you're looking at names like Troy and Travis and Laura and Nolan and then Sandra joins, and it's like there's a part of you that hopes, right? Everything you want this experience to be, it'll be. And you get to set, and it's exactly that. It was like we just had a blast. It was really, it was a great, great set with genuinely good people whom I really enjoy going to work with every day. And I think that makes so for me, and because of all of those pieces, it was such a dream project because I got to meet people and work with people that I wanted to work with and whom I respect. I got to play a character whom I have a ton of admiration for and would never have dreamed as a 10-year-old Jeff that I'd ever get a chance to do that. So for me, top to bottom, this is just an amazing experience. And getting to work with Shauna Sky, and all the people from Marvel and Crystal, like it was just like for me a dream team of people that I got to be a part of, and I felt really honored to be there.
And what did you enjoy most about working on the project and getting to be Captain America on the set?
I mean, I think for me it was, there were so many things, but I think the simplest answer to that is like, there's that day, there's that moment, and I remember it distinctly, where we're on set, and I think like, Troy's, getting the dots put on his face to get ready, and like Nolan and Travis are chatting in the corner, and like Laura's there getting suited up, and I remember I'm just like standing in the middle of the volume, and one of the guys brings the prop shield over. And at the time, and obviously, like we're not on a film set, so my shield is like some PVC pipe, some cardboard and foam, and some wood, and it's kind of like cobbled together. But it looks like a shield. But for me, at that moment, and he handed it to me, and I was, and I'm holding on to it, and I'm looking around the set, and I'm like, man, this is like really happening. And it's such like a magical moment for me that I'll never forget, because in that moment, like that child in me might as well have been holding the most authentic cap shield ever created. And I just remember thinking, they're going to have to pry this out of my hands at the end of the day, because I'm never going to put this thing down. So, I think that little moment for me sort of encapsulated like what was the best part about working on this, which is like, I got to live out that dream that you have as a child.
You mentioned your childhood. Have you been a huge fan of Marvel since before when you were a kid, or after when you grew up?
Yeah, I always liked comics, but I never really read them very much. I was more interested in the artwork of it. Strangely, I know the first comics that I can remember were actually Iron Man comics, and there was a series or a run in one of the series where Iron Man was actually in a wheelchair. I think he had been like shot or paralyzed and I don't know how long that run went for, but it's the only thing I can remember. So
I remember reading about that one on one of the Wikipedia pages. I got a
really?
picture of it in my head.
Yeah, he had it was kind of like a really boxy chair, but kind of like very sleek looking. I wish I could remember like what the run was called or what it was or what that storyline was. But so yeah, like I mean, I read some comics as a kid, not very many, but I always loved the fantasy world of it. Like it was really attractive to me, because I think it's partly why like comics and then games have always been really attractive to me, because and I guess film and art as a generality, because you can totally suspend your disbelief and become this other thing. So yeah, and then later on in life, obviously, like as it became more prevalent in film and graphic novels and things like that, I really started to get into it a little more.
Yeah, I never really read comics as a kid myself. I was more into the movies than I was reading.
Hmm.
My first experience with Marvel was the Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire. So I
Oh
was
yeah.
5 or 6 at the time when that came out,
Oh,
and
were you really?
it just blew my mind. And then it was like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four movies. Then the MCU hit, and it blew my mind that there was this
Yeah.
whole world out there that I never really knew about. So I've been trying to get into more comics, but I'm not really there yet. But
Yeah, yeah, that's okay. I mean, have you ever watched the original X-Men series, the animated series?
I started watching it on Disney Plus 2 weeks ago.
Oh, what do you think? It's fantastic, isn't it?
It's definitely really interesting to watch. I never saw any of the animated shows from Marvel as a kid
Hmm.
either way. But going back and watching it, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Why didn't I know
Yeah,
about this?
yeah. I know. It's
I
such a
got into
great
the
series.
animated series was because I had watched all the X-Men movies for the 20th anniversary. So
Oh, did you? What's your favorite? Like of all the Marvel films, like which one is the one that you really identify with?
like Marvel or X-Men or all of them.
Let's do X-Men and then Marvel.
Okay. Um. Well, I want to say Origins Wolverine because that was the very first X-Men movie I ever saw, so it
Sure.
resonates with the child in me. Um. But you gotta love Deadpool, and
Yes.
I have to say Logan is probably my all-time favorite for the Wolverine franchise.
It's a good choice.
It's like
It's a good choice.
one of the best I've ever seen, compared to all the other movies that Hugh Jackman did for the Wolverine series.
Sure.
But I'm still a child at heart when I talk about Origins Wolverine.
Yeah, those no, those are great. I agree with you. I really enjoyed Logan a lot, but I think also like what you were probably feeling, tonally that movie is very different than the rest of the films in the canon. Like
Yeah.
it's very tonally like darker and grittier, even for Wolverine, and I love it. But I agree with you. Deadpool's fantastic. Have you? I'm assuming you've seen Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider Verse, yes.
Oh, I love that movie.
It's so
I,
amazing. I
I
was
know.
blown away by the fact that there's an animated Spider Man movie. And
How
I'm,
great.
of course, a little skeptical about it because there's been so many animated TV shows already in the past.
Sure.
But to see this movie, I was like, whoa,
Yeah, it's fantastic. It was so, so good. I'm glad you liked it.
I loved it so much. I'm not really all into animation, but I do love my Disney movies once in a while.
Yeah, yeah. No, me too. My wife and I watch as much. I watch as much animation as I can. And I really love a lot of the films. Like if you haven't seen it, without getting like dovetailing too far off, if you haven't seen Big Hero 6,
Yep,
yeah, I was gonna say I recommend that highly. I love Big Hero
so
6.
good. It's definitely different than I have seen, but the one I will relate to the most personally is Lilo and Stitch, because I can relate to Lilo and Stitch at the same time.
Mm. I actually haven't seen Lilo and Stitch though.
You should.
I'll watch it this week. I'll watch it this weekend actually, because I've heard other people say as well that they really, really enjoy it.
Yeah,
I
it's
will.
really
I'll
good.
check it out.
Yeah, like I can relate to these characters on a much personal basis. Like, uh,
Mm,
they're both kind of like outcasts and weird. They don't have any friends, and I can relate to that because that's like looking at myself on
mm.
the movie.
Wow, that's really great. I mean, it's so isn't it so like rewarding and and I guess like almost it almost creates like a sense of peace when you can watch something that you can really identify with, where you almost feel like I remember those moments for me when I felt like that movie or that book I'm reading, that was for me. Like that was written for me. They didn't know it at the time, but that's for me. And all of a sudden, like I remember feeling at times like, when I was a kid or getting like picked on, I remember feeling like, oh, like I'm not alone. Somebody else
Same
feels what
way.
I feel.
I grew up with I have autism, so growing
Hmm.
up was not easy for me. I was always
Sure.
bullied and picked on, but to have these characters that I can turn to in times of need or that I can relate to, just opens up my world for me because I never had that kind of thing growing in my early childhood, but as I
Sure.
got older, I started to relate to all that.
Yeah, it kind of creates like a feeling of like possibility almost, I think, right? Like you see, yeah, it's like you watch somebody, you're seeing somebody else walk a path or go through something that you either understand or aspire to be able to do or achieve. And I think that's awesome. I love that. I think at its best when we're creating, art that's really meaningful, it's for this exact reason. So people can identify with something and not feel like so alone. So I love that you had that. I think that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
thank you. Marvel has been a huge part of my life since I started Spider-Man movies, and it's always been such a huge inspiration to me, and it's even saved my life in many ways, from
Wow.
depression and from all that. When I don't have friends, I always have these online friends I can talk to you about the superheroes and stuff.
Yeah.
So to have all these characters that I can watch over and over again, it's just inspiring to me and had such a great, huge impact.
Well, I would imagine at this point, honestly, but I would imagine you're inspiring to other people as well because look at you now. Like I watched a lot of your videos on your channel. Like I think it's fantastic the content you're creating, and like I'm so stoked to be able to talk to you. And I mean, I think it's awesome. I really think it's great.
Thank you. It's really great to be talking to you too. I think you're actually my first Marvel interview.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm honored. I'm honestly honored. That's awesome. I hope it's not the last.
No, no, of course not. I've been trying to do Marvel interviews for years and I never
Yeah.
got hit.
No
So
way. Well, I'm glad. I'm very happy to be the first one through the door.
thank you. It's really an honor, especially to have it done by you, Captain America.
Oh, that's like I don't think I'll ever get tired of hearing that, no matter what. But I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. This is not your first time playing a part in a video game. You had roles in Resident Evil, Red Dead
Hmm.
Redemption, and The Walking Dead. What do you enjoy most about working in video games?
Um, I think one of the things that's great about games, and maybe it's not so dissimilar to any other medium in acting, but I love that for games I'm bound by nothing. I can be a robot. I could be a child. I could be a monster. I could be a superhero. I mean, really like the sort of all bets are off. And because of that, there's a lot of freedom. Um, I'm not really bound by anything except what I sound like. And even that can be, modified and changed and, either what I can do with my own voice or what they can do post production. So, um, you know, and games for me have always been a really special thing. I was a big gamer when I was a kid.
Hmm.
Um, it was something my brother and I really bonded over. I used to be, I mean, I'd get way into it, Bell. I mean, I'd be in my living room, sweating, just totally focused. I mean, it was really intense, but I was always drawn to them and never really thought that I'd be working in them or that it was even something I could conceive of doing. Um, but so getting the opportunity to play in so many different worlds and be so many different kinds of people or not even people, animals and robots and all sorts of stuff. Like, I don't know. I think games are a great equalizer of a medium because there's really no rules. You can do anything you want. They can create any world they want. Um, and it's funny because I have such a respect for everybody who works in games because the part that I contribute as a voice actor is pretty small in comparison to the amount of work that uh, developers and game designers and graphic artists, like coders, these guys and gals create worlds, and I just give one part of it a little voice. Um, but I think for me, like that's why games are so special.
Hmm. And I agree. I grew up with the early PlayStation generation, so
Yeah,
PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 has a place in my heart to play over and over again. And
sure.
playing all these video games that I grew up with, I'm more old school still today. I
Hmm.
prefer my PlayStation 2 games because they're the
Do
ones
you
I
really?
grew up with. Yeah,
What are you
I'm
playing? What's in your
trying to
PlayStation
provide.
2 right now?
I'm sorry, what?
What's in your PlayStation 2 right now? Like if you were gonna fire it up, what's in there?
Batman Begins.
Right on. I like it.
Yeah, I had some of these games as a kid, but I had to find them again because well, we had a house fire when I was younger, so I lost my system.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
so I was able to get a new one. I was able to get the bigger, thicker PlayStation 2 model because
Sure. Yeah.
I had the Slim for a while, but it doesn't really work well with PlayStation 1 games, so I had to do an upgrade. Just playing all these games, like the early Harry Potter games or some of the superhero stuff that we can play. Just having all that to play again and again and like reliving your childhood. While
Yeah.
games today are a whole lot different, they're a lot more advanced, they're more real life-like. And
Yeah.
while I enjoy that, I like some of the older model stuff.
I agree with you. Sometimes it's really fun to go back and like kind of take that trip down nostalgia lane and play some of the older games. I
Yeah,
miss some of those. I was a big Nintendo guy. Like I played a lot of Nintendo. And obviously we had Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis. I skipped the Dreamcast. We didn't end up getting one of those. And then I've been an Xbox guy for a long time. Um, although I think when the new systems come out, I might have to splurge and do one of each because there's some stuff for PlayStation that I really want to get my hands on.
yeah, I'm more of a PlayStation person.
Sure.
I had the Nintendo 64 for like 3 weeks, and then the fire happened, so I didn't
Was
get.
that the system you lost?
Yeah, that's one of the systems I lost as well.
Wow.
So I never really
This is a
got the
serious
chance to play.
fire.
I'm sorry.
It was a serious fire.
Yeah, it really was. It was an electrical fire. I came home from school, and the alarms were going off. I was home by myself with the dog, and I couldn't
No way.
smell anything, but I had to go upstairs and check anyway. And there was a fire that broke out of my sister's rooms. So I literally had to drag the dog, and the rest is history. So
Wow. How old are you at the time?
I was in junior high, so I was like maybe 13.
Wow. Damn.
So
That's a lot.
it was.
Do they know what caused the fire?
I'm sorry.
Do they know what caused it?
It was an electrical kink in a lamp that was left on during the day.
No way. Isn't it like it's crazy? It's like the smallest things. Do you know what I mean? Like if you really like think about, I think about this a lot, and I like talk to my wife about it. But it's like the margin of error on almost all things is so small, right? Between like a good day and a bad day, like a conversation that goes well and a conversation that goes doesn't. It's like a lamp that sets on fire and a lamp that doesn't. It's just that kind of stuff like blows my mind. Well, thank God you were home and able to help your dog out.
Yeah, I was. Thank God I didn't come home to it already blown up. but
I was gonna
I'm
say, right?
sad to lose all my precious possessions. But I'm starting to slowly recollect everything I had as a kid that were
Oh,
important,
that's awesome.
like the PlayStation and uh, things like that. The Nintendo
That's awesome.
64 was a gift, so I never really got the chance to use it. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping to go back and try
Oh,
to
man.
collect all those. We got the
You know
Xbox
the
360 after we moved into our new house, so I was an Xbox person for a while. Then I got the
great.
PlayStation 4, and that was it for me.
Do you think you're gonna move to the PlayStation 5?
I'm planning on it.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I can't wait for them to. They haven't announced release date yet, right?
It should
The
be the holidays
holidays.
this year.
Yeah, holidays.
I'm
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
going to upgrade, but I'm going to keep all the systems because I'm like a collector of those.
Yeah, yeah. I can see like your room is like really well decorated. You have like cool pictures on the wall. Like it's like
Yeah,
you eat. You're very clean.
these are actually all autographed pictures I have on my wall.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
they're all autographed. I got some pictures with me from Comic Cons. I got
Oh,
a
nice.
X-File poster. The Hunger Games was signed by Jennifer Lawrence.
Have you gone to Comic-Con LA and New York or just one or the other?
No, it's one of the smaller conventions that comes out here
Mm-hmm.
every year. I would have gone to a horror convention by now, but COVID pretty much canceled that on me.
I know.
And
It,
then
all the in-person stuff has been canceled, man. It's really, there's a large community. I mean, look, there are so many people affected in so many ways. I can't even begin to, but there is a community also who, really thrives on, looks forward to. It's a huge part of their life for conventions, and
Yeah.
you know, those have gone away. It's been tough to, and also interesting to see how some of that industry is trying to pivot to bring those to people in some way, shape, or form. I'm hoping this year to be involved in a few that we're talking about where maybe we can do some online thing.
Yeah, I know Wizard World and Galaxy Con are doing those virtual connections where someone just pays to have a video chat with you for like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
I know
I
they've been
think it's
having
like,
that, but I really enjoy the in-person experience more.
no, I agree with you completely. I mean, I think it's,
Last
I
year
mean,
at Galaxy Con was like the best experience I ever had. I literally got to meet everyone I wanted to meet. I even met half the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy and
oh wow,
everyone that pretty much knew me online already that I got to
oh,
meet
that's awesome.
and to get
That's
the
so cool.
autographs and get pictures. So having that is like memorable for me to go to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's tough because when those things disappeared, there was, again, there's like that opportunity for connection kind of goes away, and you got to figure out a way to replace it. I mean, honestly, it's why actually I look forward to conversations like this, because we're all in like that same boat,
Yeah.
At this point, it's been my wife and I in the house with the dogs, and you know we're very social distanced and quarantining and all that. But you know, for me, like I miss that like interpersonal connection. It's like I love going to conventions and getting to meet people. So so I personally miss that stuff a lot.
I do too. It's like there was one that was gonna be going on sometime now, and then the other one is in November, and then I can't go to those at all now. So
Uh,
I'll have to try for next year, hopefully, if things get
Next
better.
year,
And then
fingers
maybe
crossed.
someday
Next
I'll
year,
meet you in person and get a
I
picture,
hope so.
autograph, or something.
I hope so. I really do. I hope we get to do that. In fact, Bill, I know we're gonna get to do that. I'm like confident that it's gonna happen.
Well, I'll put in a request locally, and we'll see if we can make it happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Are you currently working on any new projects, or is everything pretty much halted at this point?
No, I mean, I'm actually fortunate enough to be able to work on some projects currently while we're in quarantine. Most of it has been recording from my home studio, and there have been a few with lots of restrictions and rules and methods of navigation. But I've worked on a couple things in person as well. So we're getting there. It's slow. It's everyone's trying to figure out how to navigate it in a way that's safe and still productive. I don't know that we've gotten there yet, but thankfully, I'm very grateful to have been able to work. So there's some things there's some things in progress. I can't really talk about any of them, but
No, I
but
hear
there are
you.
some things coming down the
No, but I'm
there are
glad
some
you
things
got
coming
to
down the
work.
pipe.
I'm pretty sad I can't do anything normally like I usually do. So I'm hoping
Yeah,
to get things back to normal soon.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate all this time, Jeff, to talk with you. I had a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was my pleasure, Bill. Anytime. It was really nice to talk to you and really nice to meet you.
It was very nice to meet you too. I'll upload the video and I'll tag you on social media and send
Awesome.
a link to Amy as well. And
Awesome.
hopefully we can talk again soon.
Yeah, yeah. Bill, if you need anything, don't hesitate to let me know, okay?
I will. I'll talk to you on Twitter.
All right.
Thanks, Jeff.